There was a time when criticizing a Disney movie meant you simply didn't like the story. Today, it means something else entirely. If you disliked Snow White, you were called sexist. If you criticized The Acolyte, you were labeled racist. And every time one of Disney's projects collapses at the box office, the blame somehow never lands on Disney itself. It lands on the audience. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Disney isn't failing because people are hateful. Disney is failing because it lost what made it special. And the damage runs far deeper than bad press, angry tweets, or a few box office flops. Disney is in real trouble. Its stock has taken major hits. Disney Plus has lost millions of subscribers. Entire divisions are being downsized. Studios are bleeding money. And for the first time in decades, Disney no longer feels untouchable. To understand how this happened, you first need to understand what Disney used to be. Because the modern Disney would deeply disappoint the man who built it. Walt Disney didn't believe in chasing trends. He didn't believe in short-term profit. His philosophy was painfully simple. You don't have to worry about money, he once said. It will take care of itself if you do your best work. And for decades, Disney lived by that idea. Against all odds, Walt created the first full-length animated feature with synchronized sound. He introduced characters that became cultural icons: Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty. Every film pushed the limits of animation, storytelling, and emotion. Disney films weren't products. They were experiences. Stories about flawed characters who failed, learned, and grew. Stories where evil felt dangerous, victory felt earned, and music served the story, not the algorithm. That obsession with quality built an empire. But in 1966, Walt Disney died. And slowly, quietly, everything changed. For a while, Disney held on to his legacy. From the late 1980s through the 1990s, the company entered what many call its golden renaissance. The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, Hercules, Tarzan. Original stories, timeless music, memorable villains. Disney felt unstoppable. Then came the turning point. In the early 2000s, Bob Iger rose to power. And while Iger is often praised as a brilliant businessman, his leadership marked a fundamental shift in Disney's identity. Instead of innovation, Disney chose acquisition. Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm. In less than a decade, Disney bought nearly every major creative competitor in the industry. On paper, it looked genius. But creatively, it was a warning sign, because Disney stopped trusting itself. From that moment on, Disney relied less on original storytelling and more on recycling existing brands. Live-action remakes, sequels, reboots, spin-offs. Between 2001 and 2021, Disney released over 100 big-budget films. Only a small fraction crossed the billion-dollar mark. Even fewer were original stories. Most were reboots of films Walt Disney himself believed should never be touched. The irony was brutal. A small studio in the 1930s took more creative risks than a multi-billion-dollar corporation with unlimited resources. And nowhere was this more obvious than Disney's 100th anniversary. Instead of celebrating creativity, Disney released Wish, a film meant to honor its legacy. It became one of the lowest-rated animated Disney films in decades. Audiences didn't say it was offensive. They said it felt empty, soulless, algorithmic, as if it was designed by committee instead of artists. And this problem didn't stop with animation. Disney's biggest acquisitions, Marvel and Star Wars, began collapsing under the same formula. Star Wars should have been impossible to ruin. But after The Force Awakens, Disney doubled down on speed instead of cohesion. The Last Jedi fractured the fan base. The sequel trilogy lacked direction. And Disney responded to criticism, not with reflection, but defensiveness. Despite massive box office numbers, something broke. Trust. Marvel followed the same path. After Endgame, the MCU lost its long-term vision. Stories felt rushed. Characters felt disposable. Projects weren't events anymore. They were content. And when audiences finally pushed back, Disney didn't ask why. They asked who to blame. Criticism was reframed as hatred. Disappointment was framed as intolerance, and that strategy backfired catastrophically. Take The Acolyte. It launched with massive hype and massive budgets, and then viewership collapsed. Not because of politics, not because of race, not because of gender, but because the story failed to respect the source material. Fans weren't angry because the show was different. They were angry because it was careless. And instead of acknowledging that, Disney escalated the divide, alienating the very audience that built the franchise. The result? One of the most expensive Star Wars projects ever, quietly canceled after a single season. Hundreds of millions spent. Trust lost, nothing gained. Meanwhile, Disney Plus continues bleeding money. Despite owning one of the largest entertainment libraries in history, Disney's streaming service has lost over $11 billion since launch. Not because people hate Disney, but because people stopped believing in it. Pixar remains the exception, and that's no coincidence. Steve Jobs famously told Bob Iger that Pixar would collapse the moment Disney interfered creatively. For years, Pixar was protected, and it shows. The pattern is impossible to ignore. When creativity leads, Disney wins. When corporate safety takes over, Disney loses. And now, the consequences are catching up. Layoffs, subscriber losses, stock volatility, and a fractured fan base. Disney didn't fall because it was too bold. Disney fell because it stopped being brave. It chased trends instead of stories, volume instead of meaning, control instead of trust. Walt Disney once said, "It's kind of fun to do the impossible." Modern Disney doesn't try to do the impossible. It tries to do the safest thing possible and hopes nobody notices. But people noticed. And unless Disney remembers what made it magical in the first place, this downfall won't be temporary. It will be permanent. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and then I'll see you in the next one.